Have you ever found yourself standing at a crossroads in life wondering, what am I really supposed to do? We all crave a sense of purpose, a reason to wake up every morning and face the day. It's a universal longing, the desire to know that our lives matter, that our existence has meaning. Whether we're in a season of doubt, uncertainty, or feeling stuck in a routine, the search for purpose can feel overwhelming. It can be especially difficult when life seems chaotic, and it feels like nothing is going according to plan. In those moments, it's easy to question, does God really have a plan for me? Is there something specific He wants me to do, or am I just here, drifting along with no real direction? If you've ever asked yourself these questions, you're not alone. So many of us find ourselves searching for purpose, something that will give our lives direction and meaning. We look for fulfillment in careers, relationships, or achievements. But often those things don't bring the lasting satisfaction we hoped for. We start to realize that true purpose isn't found in what we do, but in understanding the bigger picture, the plan God has for our lives. The good news is that God has a unique and perfect purpose for each of us. It's not something we need to go searching for, as if it's hidden somewhere far off. His purpose is woven into the very fabric of who we are. The Bible tells us that God has a plan for our lives, one that is designed with intentionality and love. In Jeremiah 29:11, God declares, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." Understanding that God has a purpose for our lives is the first step to living with meaning and confidence. It shifts our perspective from being passive recipients of life's circumstances to active participants in God's incredible plan. You are not an accident. You are not a random collection of events. You were created with a specific purpose, and discovering that purpose is one of the most fulfilling journeys you can take. But how do we begin to uncover God's plan for our lives? How do we move from feeling lost or uncertain to walking confidently in the purpose God has for us? This journey is one of trust, surrender, and faith. It involves aligning our desires with God's will, seeking His guidance, and living with intention every day. In this video, we're going to explore how to understand and embrace God's plan for your life. We'll dive into biblical wisdom that reveals that you are uniquely designed, that God's will for your life is far greater than anything you could imagine, and that living with purpose is within your reach. Whether you're in a season of clarity or still searching for your calling, God's purpose for you is certain, and it's waiting for you to step into it. So if you've ever felt uncertain about your purpose or have wondered if God has a plan for you, I want to encourage you today. The answer is yes. He has a plan for your life. Let's explore together how to live intentionally, trusting in the purpose He has already set before you. It's time to discover and embrace the incredible life God has designed for you. One of the most profound truths we can hold on to is this: God has a purpose for each of us. It's not a random purpose or a fleeting goal. It's a divine plan that has been set in motion since the very beginning of time. In Jeremiah 29:11, God makes a clear and powerful statement. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." This promise is not just to the people of Israel in the Old Testament. It's for us today as well. God knows the plans He has for us, and those plans are filled with hope, prosperity, and a future full of His purpose. This truth changes everything. It means that no matter where we are in life or what we're facing, God has not abandoned us. He has a plan that is good, a plan that is meant to bring us into the fullness of who He created us to be. Sometimes we might feel like we're stumbling through life, unsure of what comes next. But understanding that God has a purpose for us gives us a foundation to build our lives on, even in the midst of uncertainty. It's easy to look at the chaos in the world or the struggles in our own lives and think that purpose is something we have to discover on our own, as if we're alone in trying to find our way. But the beauty of God's plan is that it's not something we have to figure out by ourselves. We are not wandering through life, hoping to stumble upon something meaningful. God has a specific plan for each one of us, and He desires to guide us toward it. That doesn't mean we always understand His plan right away. Life often has its twists and turns, and we may not immediately see how things are coming together. But what we can trust is that God's plan is good, and that He is faithful to fulfill it in our lives. His plan isn't about making us comfortable or giving us everything we want, but about shaping us into the people He created us to be, and leading us toward a life of purpose that impacts the world for His glory. The reality is that we often make the mistake of looking for purpose in all the wrong places. We think that our purpose must be tied to success, fame, or achieving certain goals. But purpose, according to the Bible, is not about what we accomplish or how the world sees us. It's about fulfilling the unique role God has designed for us and finding peace and joy in walking in that plan, regardless of how big or small the world's measure of success may seem. Purpose in creation. You are uniquely designed. One of the most powerful ways to begin understanding your purpose is to remember that you were created with intention. God doesn't create anything by accident. Psalm 139:13-14 says, "For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well." These verses reveal the incredible truth that God personally crafted you, every part of you. Your personality, your strengths, your weaknesses, your passions, and even your circumstances. Everything about you has been designed by God for a purpose. It can be easy to look at other people and think that their lives seem more purposeful or meaningful. We see people who seem to have it all together, who are succeeding in their careers or making a difference in the world. And we might wonder, what about me? What am I supposed to be doing? But God's plan for each of us is unique. Your purpose is not meant to look like anyone else's, and that's something to celebrate. Understanding that you are uniquely designed by God helps you see that your life has inherent value and meaning. Every part of you, even the parts you might not always like or understand, has been created with a purpose. Your gifts, talents, and abilities are not random. They are a part of God's perfect design. Maybe you have a heart for teaching, serving, encouraging, or creating. All of these things are gifts from God that serve a higher purpose. Or perhaps your life experiences, the highs and lows, are all shaping you into someone who can connect with and help others in ways that no one else can. God's purpose for your life isn't about making you into someone else. It's about bringing out the best version of yourself, the version He intended from the start. This includes recognizing that your experiences, struggles, and even your mistakes play a part in the story God is writing with your life. He uses everything for good, to refine you, to shape you, and to bring you closer to fulfilling His purpose for you. When we begin to embrace the truth that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, we can let go of comparison and begin to focus on discovering what God has for us. It's about finding peace in who you are, not trying to be someone you're not. Embrace your gifts, embrace your personality, and most importantly, Embrace the fact that God has created you for a unique purpose in this world. You are not here by accident. You are here by divine design. In every step you take, God is guiding you toward His plan, and every part of your life, even the moments that may seem insignificant, is a thread in the beautiful tapestry He is weaving. Trust in His design and let it inspire you to live intentionally, knowing that your life has value and purpose beyond what you might see right now. You were created for something beautiful, something unique, and something powerful. And the journey to discovering that purpose starts with understanding how God has uniquely shaped you. One of the most important steps in living with purpose is aligning our will with God's will. This isn't always easy because as humans, we naturally have our own desires and plans. We want things to go a certain way, and sometimes we can become fixated on our own understanding of what is best for us. But the Bible teaches us that true fulfillment comes not from pursuing our own plans, but by seeking and surrendering to God's plan for our lives. Proverbs 3:5-6 gives us a powerful reminder. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. When we trust God with our lives and submit our plans to Him, we open the door to His guidance. The truth is, we cannot find lasting peace or fulfillment by following our own path apart from God. We can try to go it alone, relying on our own wisdom and strength. But it's in surrendering to God that we truly begin to live the way we were meant to. God's will for us isn't something we need to discover on our own through trial and error. It's something He reveals to us as we trust Him and seek His direction. A significant part of aligning our will with God's will is learning how to hear from Him. This doesn't mean hearing an audible voice from the sky, but it's a deep knowing in our hearts when God is guiding us. It comes through prayer, reading His Word, and being sensitive to the Holy Spirit's leading. In moments of decision, we can ask ourselves, does this align with God's character and His Word? Does this decision draw me closer to Him and His purposes? As we grow in our relationship with God, His voice becomes clearer to us, and we begin to understand the direction He wants us to take. Sometimes, aligning our will with God's plan requires waiting. We want answers quickly. We want things to happen in our timing. But there is great wisdom in waiting on God. Psalm 27:14 encourages us to wait for the Lord, be strong, and take heart, and wait for the Lord. When we wait on God, we are allowing Him to lead us at His pace, knowing that His timing is perfect. In these moments, God is teaching us patience, trust, and dependence on Him. Trusting God and seeking His will isn't always easy, especially when life gets hard or when we face situations that don't make sense. But when we surrender our own plans to God and align ourselves with His will, we can move forward with confidence, knowing that He is guiding us, even when the road is uncertain. His plan for our lives is greater than anything we could have imagined for ourselves, and the more we submit to His will, the more we will experience the peace and fulfillment that come from living in alignment with His purpose. Once we understand that God has a purpose for our lives and that His plan is good, the next step is to begin living with intentionality. Living purposefully means making choices every day that align with God's will and the purpose He has designed for us. It means embracing each moment, each opportunity, and each challenge as a part of the bigger picture of God's plan for our lives. The Bible encourages us in Colossians 3:23, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters." Living with purpose doesn't mean we have to quit our jobs or move to a remote village to follow God's plan. It means that wherever we are, whatever we're doing, We approach it with the mindset that we are serving God through our actions. Whether you are a teacher, a parent, an employee, or a student, God has a purpose for you in that role. You don't have to be doing something big or important by the world's standards to live purposefully. Living purposefully is about doing everything with God in mind, being faithful with the little things, and trusting that He will use them for His glory. A key part of living with purpose is being obedient to God's calling. God has equipped each of us with unique gifts, talents, and passions that are meant to be used for His kingdom. Whether your calling is to serve others in a tangible way, to lead others spiritually, or to use your creativity to bring beauty into the world, you are part of God's plan. Every person's role in God's kingdom is important, and your purpose matters. Embrace the gifts God has given you and use them to serve others and bring glory to Him. One of the most practical ways to live with purpose is by cultivating a heart of service. Jesus Himself came not to be served, but to serve others. Mark 10:45. When we serve others, we are living out the heart of God's plan for our lives. It's through serving that we reflect Christ's love, and it's in serving that we find true fulfillment. Serving doesn't always have to be in grand gestures. It can be as simple as helping a neighbor, volunteering at a local shelter, or even offering a listening ear to someone in need. Living purposefully also involves making intentional choices about how we spend our time. The world constantly offers distractions and pressures that pull us away from our true purpose. But if we want to live with purpose, we must prioritize the things that matter most: our relationship with God, our relationships with others, and our role in advancing His kingdom. This means saying no to things that don't align with our purpose and yes to the things that help us grow spiritually and serve others. As we make decisions that align with God's purpose for us, we begin to see His hand at work in our lives. Purpose is not just a distant goal, it's something we live out every day. Every choice, every act of kindness, every word of encouragement is part of living with purpose. Trust that God is using you right where you are, and seek to live with intentionality in every area of your life. God's plan for your life is not something you will discover overnight. It is a journey, one that requires trust, surrender, and intentional living. But as you begin to walk in His purpose for you, you will experience a deep sense of fulfillment and joy that only comes from living according to His will. God has a plan for you, and you were created for a purpose. Embrace it, live it out, and watch as He uses your life to make an eternal impact. Even with all the encouragement in the world, there will be times when doubt and fear threaten to cloud our vision of God's purpose for our lives. It's easy to trust God when everything is going well. But what about when life gets difficult? What happens when the storms of life hit, when we face challenges that seem insurmountable? In those moments, it's natural to wonder if God's plan is still good, if He really has a purpose for us, or if we've somehow missed it altogether. Romans 8:28 gives us a powerful reminder. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Even in the midst of trials, God is at work. This doesn't mean that everything that happens to us will be good or easy. We live in a broken world, and pain, loss, and hardship are part of the human experience. But what this verse assures us of is that God is always at work, even in the darkest moments. He is using every situation, the good, the bad, and the ugly, for our good and His glory. Trusting God's plan doesn't mean that we won't face difficulties. In fact, Jesus Himself promised that we would face trials in this world. John 16:33. But he also promised that he would be with us through it all, that he would never leave us or forsake us. And when we look back at our lives, we can often see how God has used the hard times to grow us, to refine us, and to bring us closer to the purpose he has for us. When fear and doubt creep in, remember that God is faithful. Trusting his plan means acknowledging that he knows what's best for us, even when we don't understand why things are happening the way they are. It's in the moments of doubt and fear that our faith is tested and strengthened. Every time we choose to trust God despite our circumstances, we grow in our ability to see his hand at work in our lives. We learn to lean not on our own understanding, but on his wisdom, which far surpasses ours. It's important to remind ourselves that God's plans are not thwarted by the difficulties we face. We may feel like we've taken a wrong turn or that we've missed the mark, but God's purpose for us remains intact. Even when we make mistakes, God can use those moments to teach us, redirect us, and bring us back to the path he has set before us. His plans are greater than our mistakes, and his grace covers us when we fall short. When you find yourself struggling with fear or doubt, turn to God's word for reassurance. Remind yourself of his promises and the faithfulness he's shown throughout your life. And remember, you don't have to carry the weight of fear alone. God's peace is available to you, and his presence will guide you through even the toughest of times. Trust that he is still working, that his purpose is still at work in your life, and that he will see you through to the other side of whatever trial you are facing. Finally, living with purpose means embracing the confidence and joy that come from knowing we are exactly where God wants us to be. It's easy to get bogged down by the struggles of life, or to look around and wonder if we're measuring up to others' successes. But living with purpose isn't about comparing ourselves to others or striving to live up to worldly standards. It's about living confidently in the knowledge that God has called us, equipped us, and placed us exactly where we are for a reason. When we embrace God's plan for our lives, we can live with a sense of peace and joy, knowing that we are fulfilling the unique purpose he created for us. We no longer have to worry about whether we're doing enough or measuring up to anyone else's expectations. We can rest in the knowledge that God is pleased with our obedience and that his purpose for our lives is unfolding, even in ways we might not always see. Living with purpose also brings us joy because it aligns our hearts with God's. There is something deeply fulfilling about living in accordance with God's will, knowing that every step we take is part of his bigger plan. This joy isn't dependent on external circumstances, but on the inner peace that comes from being in God's will. Even when life is challenging, even when things aren't going as we expected, we can still experience a deep sense of joy because we know we are walking in the purpose God has for us. Living confidently in God's plan doesn't mean we have all the answers, or that life will always be smooth sailing. It means trusting that God is in control, that he is working behind the scenes, and that his plan for our lives is good. It's about embracing each day with a heart of gratitude and a willingness to follow God wherever he leads. It's about choosing joy and confidence, not because life is perfect, but because we know the one who holds our future. So, as you walk through life, I encourage you to step forward with confidence and joy. Trust that God has a purpose for you, a purpose that is greater than anything you could imagine. You are not here by accident. You are here on purpose, created for a specific reason that only you can fulfill. Each day is an opportunity to live intentionally, to align your heart with God's, and to walk in the fullness of his purpose for your life. When you embrace God's plan for you, you will find a sense of peace, purpose, and joy that the world cannot offer. You will live with the confidence that no matter what comes your way, God is with you, and his plan for your life is unfolding exactly as it should. Embrace his purpose, walk with him every day, and trust that he is leading you to a life that is full of meaning, fulfillment, and joy.